The haunted Selfie, the abandoned amusement park, loomed under the pale glow of the full moon, its broken rides casting jagged shadows over the overgrown pathways. The Ferris wheel creaked in the wind, its rusted frame swaying ominously. A group of friends, Emma, Rachel, Liam, and Noah, approached the entrance, flashlights casting flickering beams of light across faded "welcome" signs. "Creepy, but cool," Rachel whispered, snapping a picture of the entrance. Inside, the park was a labyrinth of decay. Weeds choked the merry-go-round, its painted horses cracked and faded. The funhouse mirrors, streaked with grime, reflected distorted versions of their surroundings. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional groan of metal in the wind. Rachel led the group to the Ferris wheel, its skeletal silhouette stark against the night sky. "Let's take a selfie," she said. The group huddled together, their faces lit by the phone's flash. Behind them, the Ferris wheel loomed like a ghostly sentinel. Rachel checked the picture and froze. In the photo, behind them, was a figure, its face unnaturally pale, with sunken, blackened eyes and a jagged, too-wide grin. It stood in the shadows, just beyond the group, as though watching them. "Who is that?" Emma's voice trembled. Rachel spun around, her flashlight darting across the shadows. But there was no one there. Fleeing the unsettling scene, the group entered the funhouse. The hall of mirrors stretched before them, warped reflections twisting their images into grotesque forms. Liam stopped in front of a mirror. His reflection was wrong. His limbs were elongated, his eyes hollow and lifeless. Suddenly, the reflection moved on its own, reaching toward him. "Liam, don't," Emma screamed, but it was too late. A hand shot out of the mirror, long, clawed, and impossibly thin. It grabbed Liam by the arm, pulling him into the glass. He vanished, leaving behind only his terrified scream. The others ran, their reflections moving unnaturally, their faces grinning back at them even as they cried and screamed. Out of the funhouse, Rachel and Noah stopped near the Ferris wheel. It had started moving on its own, the carriages swinging wildly. "There's someone in there," Rachel pointed. In one of the carriages, they saw Liam, his face pale and blank, staring directly at them. Behind him, the pale figure from the selfie loomed, its jagged grin illuminated by the moonlight. The carriage swung violently, and Liam's body slumped forward, disappearing into the shadows as the ride screeched. Every Halloween, the abandoned theater at the edge of town came to life. No one knew who ran the show or how it started, but year after year, the faded marquee lit up with a simple announcement: "One night only, the puppet show." For as long as anyone could remember, only a few brave souls attended. Some returned, their faces pale and haunted, refusing to speak of what they'd seen. Others were never seen again. This year, curiosity got the better of a group of friends: Lucy, Tom, Eric, and Sarah. They were thrill seekers, always looking for the next adrenaline rush. The rumors about the puppet show intrigued them, so on Halloween night, they decided to see it for themselves. The theater was decrepit, its walls cracked and its once grand chandelier hanging precariously. Despite its decay, the stage was pristine, as if untouched by time. Rows of faded red seats faced the stage, and the air smelled faintly of old wood and dust. A man dressed in a black suit stood by the entrance, handing out tickets. His pale face seemed almost wax-like, his smile unnervingly wide. "Enjoy the show," he said, his voice as smooth as silk. The friends sat near the middle of the theater, their excitement mingling with unease. The house lights dimmed, and a spotlight illuminated the stage. The curtain rose, revealing a small, old-fashioned puppet theater. The puppets themselves were incredibly lifelike, too lifelike. Their glassy eyes seemed to follow the audience, and their jointed movements were unnervingly fluid. The show began with a whimsical story, but the dialogue felt oddly familiar. It wasn't long before the friends realized why. The puppets were acting out moments from their own lives. "That's us," Lucy whispered, her voice shaking. On stage, a puppet resembling Tom was reenacting a prank he played in high school. Another puppet, eerily like Sarah, was mimicking a secret she had confided to no one but her closest friends. "This isn't funny," Eric muttered, shifting uncomfortably. The scenes grew darker, revealing the group's worst moments, secrets they had tried to forget. Lucy's puppet relived a car accident she'd caused but had never confessed to. Eric's puppet whispered about the betrayal of a friend. "How do they know this?" Sarah hissed, gripping Tom's arm. The audience was silent, their faces expressionless, as if in a trance. The friends glanced around, realizing something unsettling: the other patrons weren't moving. Their faces were pale, their eyes vacant, their bodies unnaturally stiff. "Are they alive?" Tom asked, his voice barely audible. The play continued, and the puppets began to change. Their movements became jerky, their expressions twisted into grotesque masks of pain and terror. The story turned violent, depicting horrifying ends for each puppet, each one resembling one of the friends. "I'm done with this," Eric said, standing. "Let's go." But as they tried to leave, they found the doors locked. The man in the black suit stood at the exit, his waxy face now devoid of any expression. "The show isn't over," he said coldly. Panic set in as the puppets began to speak directly to the friends, their voices echoing unnaturally in the theater. "You can't leave," one puppet said, its head twisting unnaturally toward Lucy. "Stay with us," another hissed, its voice mimicking Eric's. The friends tried to force the doors open, but the man in the suit simply watched, his smile returning. Slowly, the theater grew colder, and the stage lights dimmed. One by one, the friends felt themselves growing weaker, their movements sluggish. They collapsed into the seats, their vision blurring as the puppets moved closer. The next morning, the marquee outside the theater was blank, the lights dimmed. The friends were never seen again. Weeks later, when Halloween rolled around once more, the marquee lit up, one night only, the puppet show. Inside, the puppets were ready, 4 new figures added to the cast, their glassy eyes hauntingly familiar. Трава работала, перекопали, ай, сектор выпали, суд, ой, сектор полюс.